Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Let's kick off today's video with a story in which our OP finally replaces a rotting retaining wall, only to have their longtime neighbors suddenly demand it be extended, threaten city complaints, and blame them for yard flooding that's existed long before. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Neighbor demanded we extend our retaining wall onto her property. We said no, and she threatened the city. I've lived in this house with my grandparents for about 6 years. When we moved in, we had this awful wooden retaining wall facing the neighbor's property. Her property is downhill from ours, so the retaining wall keeps our yard from washing away into hers. We found out last year that the wall was rotting and needed to be replaced, so we recently had it replaced with these beautiful retaining stones. We also extended the wall past where the previous wall had been. We can't take it all the way to the street because of the city's guidelines, but it goes far enough. It could be extended by maybe 3 feet, but we couldn't afford to go any farther. Well, the neighbor who we'd gotten along with until now didn't like it. She complained to us that our wall wasn't long enough and her yard was going to wash away, and she already had rivers running through her yard. We live on a street with no sidewalk, so everyone has ditches for drainage. She never cleans hers, despite having huge trees dropping sticks and leaves into it, so her yard floods when it rains. She's blaming us for that. She then said she could pay for them, the landscapers, to extend the wall, then showed my grandma some brown retaining stones she said she could get to finish the wall. Our wall is gray, so of course Grandma said no. The neighbor said she couldn't deal with it and didn't want to be a bee, but would report us to the city if she had to. My grandma said, go ahead, and walked away. What makes her think she has any right to mess with our wall? Our landscapers even removed a stump from her property for her for free. She asked them if they could, and she never even thanked them. As far as we know, she either hasn't reported us to the city or the city told her to pound sand. She's tried to make conversation with me, but I won't talk to her. I have too much to worry about without having her trying to manipulate me into talking to my grandma. Edit to add some clarification. Her yard has been damaged like that since before we moved in. She told us as much, so it wasn't caused by our new wall. The new wall was put in by professionals, so it has a proper drainage system installed. None of the damage she pointed out could have been caused by our new wall. We know this because it hadn't rained in the days between the wall being finished and her complaining, so there was no storm water for our wall to let into her yard. Also, the damage was on the other side of her yard, so it wasn't caused by the installation itself. She never told us about the water damage in her yard until she was demanding we extend our wall. If she had, we probably would have put a new one in sooner. The landscapers did get her permission to go onto her property to build the wall. The wall isn't on her property, but in order to put everything in properly, they had to use her yard. She was fine with it as long as they fixed her yard when they were done, which they did. She confirmed that it looked great. We got all the proper permits and everything, so there's really nothing she can do at this point. As long as you guys are up to code and guidelines and within your property line, she can go kick rocks. Also, stump removal is expensive and labor-intensive. I'm surprised you guys did that pro bono. And our second story. My first unreasonable customer. I started working retail a little over 3 years ago as a side job to my longtime factory job. I'm divorced and the kids are grown, so I was bored and applied when a new store came to town and they hired me. Big surprise to me, but I'm older and responsible, so they work with me on the hours and it works out. I have actually been having a pretty good time with it since it's so different from my full-time job, and I really wondered about the horror stories people tell about horrible customers they encounter until about a month ago. I was working the register when an older gentleman comes in and starts raising hell about something. I'm occupied and there was a new boss talking to him, so I wasn't paying much attention. The new boss is a younger girl and she's a real sweetie. I don't think she deals with things like that well, so this guy's just reaming her. One of our services is filling propane tanks like you use on a grill, and I guess this guy is missing an O-ring to his tank. He's saying we're responsible for maintaining the tanks and we need to take care of the problem for him. New boss is trying to help him, but she screwed up at first and told him we don't maintain the tanks, And that wasn't what he wanted to hear, so he's on a rant like I haven't heard out of a customer. I finish with the customer and have a bit of time, so I walk over and catch up with what's going on just as he's talking about our responsibility to maintain his tank again. So I step in and tell him we fill the tanks and that's it. I tell him we don't have parts, training, or any kind of tools to work on tanks. He isn't having it and seems even more angry that I'm arguing with him and keeps repeating himself about our responsibilities. So I ask him if the gas station where he fills his car is responsible for maintaining it, which pushes him further over the edge, but he just keeps repeating the same thing over and over like it didn't matter what we said. If it wasn't what he wanted to hear, he wasn't going to acknowledge it. I finally just told him he needed to leave, and he told me he wouldn't be back. I don't recall ever seeing him there before, so I doubt he'll be missed. But now I know what it's like to have an unreasonable customer. I always say that some guy could be standing on the street corner handing out free money, and some people would still find a way to be unhappy about that. And our next story. Undergrad mistakes me for a Starbucks employee, demands I move, throws coffee when I don't. Bit of background. My law school is located on main campus of the undergrad university. Med and other grad schools aren't. We have our own bookstore separate from the undergrad one. Ours has a Starbucks, but the undergrad one doesn't. Because this is the only Starbucks on campus, we have a lot of undergrads come in, which usually isn't a problem because they're either there for 5 minutes to get a drink or quietly studying like the rest of us. Also important to note, law school finals start a week before undergrad finals. This happened 2 days ago after mine had started, but while they still had class. Anyway, the story. Characters include me, take a guess, RU, rude undergrad, and F, friend. My friend and I were going to study together in the Starbucks. She had a meeting with our professor to ask a few questions, and she was going to share her new knowledge after. We figured about 10 minutes for the meeting, so I just went ahead to grab us a spot, hopefully with outlets. None available, so I grab a seat at the counter near the window and put my bag on the chair to save it for my friend. I then start outlining and listening to music while waiting for her. A few minutes later, I feel a tap on my shoulder. Are you? Do you mind? Me. Sorry? Are you? I want that seat. I turn around to see if I was being a jerk and had my stuff on the only open seat. Half the tables were now open because it was near class change time for undergrads, so a lot of people had left. I was set up at this point and didn't feel like moving. Me. There are a bunch of other places open. Go sit somewhere else. Are you? No, you have to move. I'm a customer. I want to sit here. Me. I'm also a customer. I also want to sit here. I'm staying. Are you? You're lying. You work here. Now get off your computer and let me sit there. The workers wear a red polo with the B&N Cafe logo and black pants. I was wearing a black DC Lineups t-shirt and jeans. Me. I don't work here. I'm trying to study for a final tomorrow. Please leave me alone or I'll get the manager to make you. Are you? You don't have a final tomorrow. They don't start until next week. If you're going to lie, be convincing. Go get the manager. Me. Dude, just leave me the hell alone and sit somewhere else. My friend got there at this point. She got around the dude, moved my bag, and sat down. She was wearing some flowery top and jeans, also very much not the uniform. Are you? Oh, good. Are you the manager? F. No, I'm here to study. Are you? So you're going to lie too? F. I'm not lying, but go off, I guess. Me. Dude, I already told you I'm here studying and I don't work here. Just leave us alone. Are you? F both of you. I'm never coming back to this Starbucks with lazy butt employees who lie. Saxby's has way better coffee anyway. He then threw his iced coffee at me, thankfully missed my computer, and stormed out. The manager apparently saw that happen on the security camera in the back office and came out. She said she didn't see anything too wrong with body language during, or she would have intervened sooner. She gave me a free iced chai because she felt bad. I went back to Starbucks today to study for my next final, and they have a security camera screen cap of him with "Do Not Serve." Update. So the manager pushed through to the campus police, and I got a call about an hour ago. The detective, we have a huge campus police force, so they have ranks like a normal PD, asked me a few questions. He said that he reviewed the tapes and it was an unprovoked attack, so he'd be happy to file the paperwork and push it over to the city police to file with the DA. He said he wasn't sure what charges they would file, but he would recommend assault, battery, harassment, and a few others, Basically, throw everything at the wall and the city can decide what sticks. I will gladly cooperate them no matter what they end up charging. Funny side note, the detective asked if I was the girl from 3 years ago. He recognized the last name from a report I filed my sophomore year of undergrad when my roommate stole all my kitchen stuff when I didn't make her a Batman doll. She texted me bragging about having stolen everything, so it was open and shut, but the detective got a laugh out of it being over a doll I never told her I would make her. Someone at a coffee shop on a college campus, not wearing a uniform, sitting in the customer area on a computer and claiming to be studying for a final exam? They must be employees slacking off. Damn, I'm smart. And our last story. Karen thought she could push the country folk around. Big mistake. A while back, my boss told me a story from his small hometown. And honestly, it still makes me smile. Years ago, an old couple, let's call them Jack and Mary, bought a quiet farmhouse and lived there for decades. They had a longtime housekeeper and her husband, Sarah, and John, who practically became family. As a thank you for their loyalty, Jack and Mary gifted them the original farmhouse and built themselves a new one right next door. Both houses shared the same well and septic system. Time passed, Jack and Mary passed away, and their son Tom inherited their home. John died, and when Sarah passed too, her daughter Lisa decided to sell the farmhouse. And in walked the villain, Karen. Karen, a loud, bossy woman from the city, bought the place and decided she was going to turn it into her weekend escape. She tore down the charming old farmhouse and started building a giant modern monstrosity complete with a pool, guest house, and fancy landscaping. Karen's contractor started parking all over Tom's yard because her driveway was too narrow. Tom politely asked her to stop. Her response, "It's not a big deal, get over it." She even told him, "You country folks should be grateful we're improving the neighborhood." Tom had had enough. That weekend, he put up a fence right on the property line. Nothing fancy, just wood posts and planks, but it kept the trucks out. Karen, she threw a fit. She ripped part of it down, claiming Tom was trying to sabotage her lifestyle. Big mistake. Tom waited until the weekend and soaked the ground where her trucks had been parking. By Monday, the first truck that tried to drive in sank like a rock. And since Tom owned the local garage, every nearby tow truck was suddenly busy. Karen had to pay for a truck from 2 hours away. Oops. Still, Tom kept quiet until one day Karen filled her pool, completely draining the shared well and clogging the system with sand. When Tom asked her to help pay for repairs, she laughed and said, "Not my problem." So Tom made it his. When Karen put the property up for sale, Tom cut off the water and capped the septic. Then he let the real estate agent know. Now Karen had a beautiful home with no running water and nowhere to flush. She took Tom to court, screaming about how it was illegal and inhumane. The judge disagreed. Tom had all the emails showing she refused to help with maintenance. The well and septic were never part of her deed. She lost. Hard. Karen was stuck. She tried to sell the house, but no one wanted it. Eventually, she had to sell it for dirt cheap to a company just to get out of town. That company? Tom. He bought the house for a fraction of what it was worth, turned the utilities back on, and moved in. Then he rented out his old house for extra income. Now Tom lives in a gorgeous modern home, one Karen thought she could bully her way into, but all she did was build her dream house for him. Because sometimes the best revenge is done with a smile and a shut-off valve. The lesson here's clear. Never underestimate the quiet guy who knows where the pipes are, because while Karen was busy throwing tantrums, Tom was quietly turning her dream into his reality. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.